to the Sideload, where we're ordering clams with coffee for breakfast. And you're welcome, Andrew. I'm your host, Will Sattelberg. Today, my guest is Andrew Romero, my fellow writer here at 9 to 5 Google. Andrew's recently reviewed the Honor Magic V5, the company's latest ultra-slim foldable meant to go head-to-head with Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold 7. We'll touch on the current state of foldables, plus whatever else in tech is currently interesting us at the moment. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I've been excited for this for a while.
You have been excited for this for a while. You bought a new microphone. You bought a new. I think it was just I guess the
it's just the
amp.
setup.
The whole setup. Whole setup's fresh. You sound great. You sound incredible.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to make you sound worse in post production just to make sure that I'm always the one who's sounding the best. But
they have AI renoising. Because AI denoising took away too much, and they've had to revert a little bit. So
no, it's really great to have you here, and I've been really excited about having you on, mostly because I enjoy working with you, and I've enjoyed knowing you in the tech community for. We met at CES, I guess CES 2024. So we've known each other for almost 2 years now. And,
was it only 2024? I guess, yeah.
That was my first CES.
Oh, really?
It's just hard to keep track of. Yeah, I've only been twice. It's just hard to keep track of CESs because they're so close to the start of the year that they feel like they're from the year prior.
I could have guessed it wasn't your first. You had that like veteran solemn look the whole time.
That's just me, man. That's just me at tech events. I come pre-sullen. I get off the plane and I'm already tired, and that was a direct flight from Buffalo. So that wasn't even that bad flight, but, no, I roll in and I'm already a little drunk, cause it's Vegas and I'm very tired.
It's secondhand drunk. It's in the air.
You get off the plane and it's just in the air.
Although it's reportedly gone down a little bit in population, so it'll be interesting to see what next year holds, or not next year. I guess 4 months right from now.
Well, but next year it's 2026. You got it right.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's 4 months from now. It'll be done in 4 months, which is crazy. And hopefully you and I can both cover it in person, so we can hang out again and we can go see whoever TCL gets for their private show. 1 year it was Nelly. Last year it was Lil Jon. Who knows?
That's who it was.
Could be anybody. I imagine it's probably somebody from early 2000s hip hop.
Well,
that seems.
Yeah, they're the ones that are looking for a quick paycheck, I guess.
Andrew, the Honor Magic V5. This is not, I would say, one of the most important smartphones of the year, at least in the US or North America, because that's not where Honor smartphones are sold. But it is an interesting device, and I think moreover, it's like even more so than Samsung, kind of a good barometer of where foldables are outside of North America, because the foldable scene inside and outside of this continent are very different, or at least up until this year had been very different. So let's start with just pitch me the Honor Magic V5, give me a review summary, maybe from your review, and we can jump off it, because I think foldables are in a really odd place right now. And I want to kind of use this as a way to talk about what this weird, still kind of in the works, but also simultaneously kind of cemented landscape is.
Yeah. It's gotten really interesting, and not in a these features are incredibly groundbreaking, they're going to change the landscape of phones forever kind of way. But an interesting is they've sort of hit a wall. There's, I kind of mentioned this in my review, but so just for background, I guess the Magic V5 is an 8.8 millimeter device with an asterisk. And that is that the Magic V5 is 8.8 millimeters, but only, and I think it's the ivory white colorway.
Oh, it's like a OnePlus situation where like the dimensions of the device change based on the finish of the device.
So what I was told was, and I have the device I reviewed is the reddish brown, I think, because there's dawn gold, reddish brown, ivory white, and it's a nice phone. It's physically, it's really pretty. It's kind of gone away from the what we see Samsung doing now is like a more boxy, modern kind of look. Pixel's doing it too, but it's got more rounded edges. Radial edges around the chassis and everything. But what Honor did is they kind of, and this is actually, it looks more like a trick to make you think that the phone is thinner than it actually is, and you can't see it, but they've rounded out the back panel where it meets that side, the side of the frame. And they've done that on the top too. So we're back to like a curved glass kind of sort of situation that makes the phone from a side profile look a lot thinner than it actually is. But and going back to it, what I was told with the ivory white is they use a special fiber, I guess you could call, kind of like carbon fiber for that back panel. And apparently that was enough to shave 2.2 millimeters off of it, which makes it the smallest foldable or the thinnest foldable. Samsung came
because
in.
Samsung's at 8.9.
Yep,
right.
just 0.1.
So they just barely,
And that's literally a hair. It's closer to a hair than it isn't a physical hair. So what Honor has done is they've released this foldable, this thinnest foldable. But it's only the thinnest in one colorway. Which I guess really doesn't matter, but it was kind of weird that it was done that way. The 2/3 of the lineup, or the majority of the lineup, is thicker than the Fold 7, Samsung's Fold 7. It's just an interesting launch in that regard.
Let me ask you a question that I know you don't know the answer to. Do you think, because this is a chicken or the egg scenario, right? What do you think came first? The white colorway or the hunt to just get it thin? And they were like, oh, we'll just make it, if we use this white material, we can beat Samsung.
Which is the egg?
That's a great question. I guess the color choice and material choice as opposed to the hunt to be thin.
Okay, so I'm already lost, but I'll tell you this. Egg or chicken.
Hard-hitting questions on the side.
I think what they did is they were hunting for the thinnest, right?
Yeah.
And to do that, they were like, well, we need to develop, we can't make it much thinner yet on the internals. Right. We probably can't shrink the battery all too much more, because they wanted to they're already experimenting with a battery with more silicon content in it. Because the silicon carbon content has been increased.
Okay.
I'll have to look back at it later. But the point is, they're already improving in that regard. So, and I don't know the specifics as to whether that makes the battery thinner. I imagine that they get to keep the same battery profile more or less, but they also get to improve the life of it because of that change in material inside, because it's more efficient transferring energy. So they had that, and then they have other internals that, they're probably not that far in terms of shrinking them even more, because they've already been doing it. They already did it last year. So to me, it feels like the best way, the easiest way for them to get it even thinner was to change the facade materials, the back paneling. Because that's all it took was a change to this aerospace grade fiber that they started using. It's kind of like a weave. Like I said, it's kind of like carbon fiber, but much less brittle. I haven't tested it. I haven't thrown the V5 off of a a roof or anything, nor
Not
have
yet.
I shot it with a gun. Like they're
Not going to say not yet to that.
yeah. I mean, I could do it now, I guess. But point being, like I'm not going to go to that extent. I'll believe them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they got it down to 9 millimeters as at least,
Yeah.
I think I don't know if they knew, that Samsung was going to come in and at 8.9, and beat them to it. But
it's more of just a race to be the company that is constantly being able to say in a 12-month period, we made the thinnest foldable.
yeah. And as a whole, I think that we can come back to this, but I think that race is kind of dumb.
No, I think we should, let's talk about this now, because I think that's kind of the story of foldables at the moment. Right. And to a certain extent, it has been from the start, but I really think the last 2 or 3 years have seen this, like, let's like, you know what foldables need to succeed in the marketplace is actually just being thin. Like they need to be as thin as a standard phone. The price is not the thing that is keeping people from buying it. The durability factor is not the thing that's keeping people from buying it. It is 100% the fact that these things are too chunky. And they were, right. I was showing friends over the weekend the Fold 7, and like I have a Fold 4 on hand as like a comparison point, and like it is remarkable. Jump. It's a crazy jump for 3 years. Like those phones feel like they're from different decades. Not the Fold 4 does not feel like a 2022.
Looking back, the Fold 4 and I think more like the Fold 3 is equivalent in my mind to the slide up keyboard phones.
Yeah, it feels
because it was
as clunky.
It's as clunky, but it marks that kind of jump from flip to other form factors. You had all these, you had the slide, you had twist, LG had a bunch of options. There's everything out there starting to come out. And then the Fold 3 feels like that jump from idea concept to like, okay, we're doing this now. Like now we're doing folding phones. But yeah, that you said that to the Fold 7. Yeah, that's a massive jump. And that's even the Fold 6 felt good in the hand. It felt plenty thin enough. I've always had a problem with Samsung's aspect ratio on the front, the external panel display. That's always felt way too thin. The Fold 7 addresses that pretty well, I think. I don't know what your thoughts are on it as far as comfort goes when it's folded.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the thing, and I guess I started complaining about this, last year when we first saw renders of the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, like before it was actually launched. I think I wrote this coming back from Mobile World Congress. I think I wrote it on the plane. That like, in 2023, OnePlus and I guess Oppo, but like in North America, OnePlus came out of the gate with this new design, right? Where they had the OnePlus Open was like, the inside was basically a 1x1 screen. It's not quite that, but it's close enough that we can round up. And
it was, plenty close.
It's basically that, right? And then the outside was like, felt like a very standard smartphone display. And like, obviously nobody can jump on that moving train that quickly, but like, it was interesting that like, it feels like every design now in the last, and that wasn't even really the first one, but it was the first one to kind of take off. It's like every foldable design has now just fully cemented on like, nope, that's all this is. It's we're not doing ultra tall and thin like Samsung initially did. We're not doing short and fat like the original Pixel Fold. We are doing what OnePlus did, which is standard screen on the outside, a fairly square display on the inside, and that's just what foldables are now. And like, the Fold 7 it still feels a little different. Like it's still taller than like some of its competitors, but like, I don't know. We are at the point where all like basically any foldable from any major OEM at this point, like kind of feels like
you could pick them all out of a hat and not be able to tell which one is which until you see it, I mean,
they've got distinct, like the Fold 7 looks like a Samsung device, and the Honor Magic V5 looks like an Honor device. But I wouldn't think the other companies made them. But at the same time, that's about like it's all superficial, right? It's not like you're not noticing these details. Things. Yeah, it's like small.
It really just comes down to like I was saying before, it kind of just chassis design. Genuinely, like like I said, the Fold 7, it's flat. It takes that very like square profile and runs with it.
There we go.
Yeah. Is it super rounded? I can't remember if it's
no, it's
slightly rounded, right?
It's got rounded corners, but the sides are perfectly flat, and it's when you hold it up like this, like it's pretty boxy, but that is Samsung's current design trend, at least as far as their like ultra premium devices go. It doesn't feel that far out of place next to an S25 Ultra, which I think is what they were going for. So like mission accomplished, but that doesn't, it means the entire market feels a little stagnant. Now, that said, it's impressive it's down to this chassis size. And I don't want to like overwrite that. I do think part of the limitations of people buying a foldable is that it is a pretty, or at least was a pretty big size sacrifice, like not just in terms of physical dimensions, but also like just the weight in your pocket or your purse.
Right. To me, it all comes down to pocket space.
Exactly.
That's the sacrifice, how it feels there.
Like we're there though. You know what I mean? Right. Like I feel like these companies are going to be inclined to continue trying to chase like, let's get another fraction of a millimeter off. Let's get another fraction of a millimeter off. Let's get it down to like 7.2 millimeters and or whatever. And it's like, I feel like this race is accomplished, like this race that started a couple years ago to like hit these sub 10, sub 9 millimeter.
And isn't it crazy? It only took that long.
That's like, I feel like we all expected it to take like, that'll, in 4 or 5 years. It's like, no, it was like 2 years basically.
Yeah. I mean, the OnePlus Open was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And holding that now, that feels chonky.
Feels
like
bulky.
It feels like a thick, big phone. And at the time, obviously, it was the thinner foldable, especially coming from the original Pixel Fold. But now you have these devices that are just like they're as thin. So comparing. The way I've been looking at it is if I take my regular slab phone, so for instance the Pixel 10, and I put a case on it, that's my default carry configuration. That's what I'll bring with me everywhere. So if I can take my case adorning Pixel 10 and I can set it next to or put it up next to one of these foldables without a case, and I can say, the entire foldable is thinner than my Pixel 10. Then the foldable wins. Like it's not really that much heavier in the hand. It's not between the two. No. It's not easy to tell the difference. That being said, the Pixel 10 out of almost every smartphone right now is the heavier and thicker device.
It's
at least like the Pro XL,
Well, no, even like I have the regular Pixel 10 and obviously, it's essentially the same dimensions as the Pixel 9 before it. And it's like, man, like as much as I don't care, we're recording this on the day of the Apple event. So like they just announced the iPhone Air and we've obviously seen the S25 Edge and we've seen leaks of the S26 Edge. And then we're talking about this foldable race to be thin.
Does that appeal to you? Like,
that's exactly what I was about to say. Like, I think the Pixel 10 feels a little chunky. I wish it was a little thinner in my pocket. Like I'm not going to say no to that.
Oh no, there's room for a slight decrease in size. I definitely agree there.
For me, it's like the lighter weights of these devices are the more exciting part. And to be honest with you, I actually don't know what the iPhone Air weighs. I did not look it up. If that thing weighs like 150 grams, then maybe I'm a little more interested, but I doubt it does. It's probably 160.
Even if it does, the selling point for them seem to just revolve around size mostly. That's all that size and comparison, visual comparison to feathers, as they always do.
Yeah.
But to me, that I don't like holding a phone, and maybe this is just something to get used to, right? Maybe this is the trend, the new trend that slap phones are going to hit going forward. Maybe in 3 years, the S28 or S29 Edge or whatever will be the best selling phone, for Samsung. But right now it feels like these devices are just a little too thin for me. They feel uncomfortable to hold. I don't know. There's just something there that it's funny. Apple, what did they say? They said it feels a phone that feels like the future, or something along those lines.
Okay. All right. We're gonna diverge. The whole point of this show, we're gonna diverge briefly. Let's just talk about the iPhone Air. That's all. That's. I know we probably shouldn't. If you don't care, I'm sorry. Let's just spend 5 minutes on this and kind of square it with the Edge on Samsung's side. But this announcement was so weird from Apple of the Air. I feel like the other three phones were all fairly typical, and it was you could feel. It felt sweaty. It felt like they were panicked about how people would take this, so they kept being no, guys, really, an all-day battery life, don't worry about it, but we also have this battery pack if you're interested in the battery pack, which is I was texting Ben and Joe Maring, who was on last week, and I made a joke about they're gonna say it's all day battery life with a bunch of asterisks next to it, and the asterisks were all gonna be oh, except, unless you turn the screen on, in which case the battery life isn't great. So maybe don't turn the screen on. By the way, we would carry a battery pack if we were you. Battery packs will make the phone thicker, just so you know. And then 5 minutes after I made this joke, they were we've got a new battery pack for it. And I'm oh, I wasn't joking then. This is actually just where you guys are on this, is that you were this is just what Samsung just did, where it was it felt really panicky, and it felt like they were stressing battery life too much for it to be real, right? They said all day battery life so many times that I started to be so this thing is not going to last anybody all day. And I don't know.
I feel like this is the equivalent to this is the hardware equivalent to AI. Because all these companies are Samsung, Google, Apple to an extent, which I was quite surprised that it felt like they kept Apple
They've got
Intelligence
nothing to show for it.
to a minimum.
Did they say Apple? I mean, I'm sure they said Apple Intelligence, but they didn't say it a lot.
Times.
It wasn't last
year. No, not
year.
enough for it to be a main point. I mean, it was a side point, and if anything, it was just baked into features on the new Watch series.
Yeah, it was really limited, and even even titanium. They're not doing titanium anymore. All of the buzzwords of the last couple of years are just gone.
This is another tangent. I feel just really quick. I correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if they've done this before, but the method for doing the titanium case for the Watch Ultra, the new series, is they 3D printed it. And that's a big selling point for them, because on the infographic with limited space, there was a whole section that just said 3D printed. Because they had to fill up some space. But that for as good as it looked, because 3D printing, especially with I can't remember exactly how it's done with metals like titanium, but it is not to a point for other manufacturers to be able to say, let's do that for our next thing. It's not, it's expensive. It's very expensive still. So the fact that they were able to do that and make it appear smooth finish, it looks like it was milled, which, they're right. It does save material, because when you're milling something, that's maybe 30% of the block or whatever they used, which they're still doing for the aluminum iPhone. It's still milled. Well, it's forged and then milled.
Right. It's the
Same
first. They were
thing.
very excited to be like first unibody iPhone.
Because that, if you forge it, that's like the new 3D printing. But it's interesting the buzzwords they're trying to create and use for specific things. But to go back, I guess we'll backtrack if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of it on the only other thing I wanted to say is that Apple did not beat Samsung on the weight factor. Samsung squeezes in at 2 grams lighter with a larger screen. So
okay, and that's for,
I guess that's
for
I'm
the Edge, right?
buying an Edge right now. Yeah,
buy a Razor's Edge. Like I said, it's the new thing. It's the hardware equivalent of AI. So it's like, it feels like all these companies are just shoving it into, let's make a super thin phone. Forget that we have to sacrifice everything to do it. We're still going to make it. And you know what? If people buy it, then people buy it. But I don't think, to me, performance supersedes, size in a lot of ways, especially for where we are in regular slab style phones. They could be thinner, but also these companies are trying to catch up in performance, do bigger and better things with performance, and you can't consistently get thinner and thinner and thinner phones on that big a scale if you're going to keep upping the capabilities. Because that takes more power. Power has it takes up physical space. So to an extent, I know we're at 3 and 2 nanometer chips and everything now, but in the grand scheme of things, it feels unrealistic to expect powerful phones in thin form factors. And I guess foldables get a pass with that because they still technically have that space.
It's just spread out over 2 halves.
It's spread out, and that's impressive on its own. But specifically with I don't know. I've got some qualms with the V5. First of all, the thing that sticks out for me, and I mentioned this in my reviews and my coverage, but I think Honor needs to rework its software a little bit. And again, it's a Chinese OEM. The software is going to look how popular. It's going to look its best for how best it can be presented to its target audience, and that doesn't include the US right now. And that's just how the specifically with the control panel, it's just not my cup of tea. The way the UI looks, the intelligence or whatever that goes into it. I feel like to pick it up and start using it, it feels like there's a barrier, a small barrier.
I'm looking at the control center right now, which is literally called the control center. It's very iOS, right? Like that's, it is what it is.
I guess.
It's not it's modern iOS, I guess. And or maybe not modern iOS, actually, maybe like 4 years.
It's in this
iOS.
Weird middle space.
It's in an odd middle space.
Right.
Which isn't necessarily bad, but like, I think we talked about this a little bit on a recent Pixelated episode, but it's interesting how Google seems to be like the only like software developer that seems to have any on the Android side of things that seems to have like any like really fresh takes on what their software should look like that isn't just kind of pulling from Apple, and like everyone else to some extent is at least taking some of those ideas. Samsung is hit or miss, and then lots of depending on which Chinese OEM you pick, like it's going to be at various varying degrees. And I'm very worried about the storm of liquid glass clones that I have a feeling is like waiting right off the side, because like, that style is so distinct that they're gonna try to do it themselves. And
you know what? Fair play. If they want to do that, that's fine. But it depends on who you talk to. If you're chronically online and you're looking at, social media, it's pretty divided. It seems to me like a lot of people don't like, just in general, the way liquid glass looks. To me, it feels like in high capacity, like if I'm using a phone the whole day and I have to look at that UI style the whole day, I'm going to feel a little drained. And I haven't used it or experienced it. I just,
that's a really good point, actually, Andrew, is that it is such an in your face UI that like it's impossible to not notice. And I think I wonder how much we're going to
visually. It's taxing.
We're going to see a lot of that.
It feels heavy to the eye. It just, has something about it. Just the way it's designed. And that's, it's cool that the GPU can handle that. And it's neat how they did that, but also I don't know if it was necessary.
That's like a direct quote. You could like, somebody said exactly what you just said in 2006 about Windows Vista. Like word for word.
That's like,
really impressive what the GPU can do these days, but I'm just not sure it's necessary. Like somebody said that about Vista. They were kind of right. And you were kind of right. I'm not against it. The effect on its own. I find that that Apple's inability to find the right middle ground between like complete transparency and complete opaqueness and like, every beta seems to like crank the dial up or down, just trying to figure out when people will finally stop complaining.
There's a poster in someone's office at Apple headquarters. It's the why not both girl.
Absolutely. A dial actually would help, where you just leave it in the user's hands and you ship a default that 90% of people won't change. And then the 10% of people who want to complain about it can change it. I mean,
that's the line that people draw between Apple and Android is
for sure.
What can I do in the UI to change things? I know what you're going to say. I feel like I know it's changed recently, less and less.
I'm just going to complain about the Pixel launcher. That's all I was going to complain
about. That's fair. And comparatively to other UIs like One UI and Magic OS, for the sake of comparison, there's like an extra knob on the customization dial that Google just doesn't have in the Pixel launcher. It feels like in some instances, and that's fine for the target audience that they're going for now.
Totally. It's mostly fine for me. It's truly, there will just be like once a month I'll like find something where it drives me kind of up a wall. And not enough to like install a third-party launcher or to even really consider switching my daily driver away from a Pixel. Like anytime I do that, whether I'm reviewing a phone or like with the Fold 7, if I'm just checking it out or something like that. Yeah, I will always be like, I kind of just want the reliability. And like, sure, I wish I could change these 4 things. Oddly enough, not the at a glance widget. I'm totally fine with that thing being on top of the screen. Same with the search bar. Actually, like both of those things. It's other.
I don't mind the search bar. I wish I could change the font size for at a glance.
That's fair.
Specifically for at a glance, individually. Yeah. And that's fine though. But I don't know. It's the way these companies are going, I think. They're taking options away to some extent, and they're pushing things that I don't think a lot of people care about. I think it deserves its own episode, more or less, diving into the the back and forth between different software and what people actually care about.
That's a good point. I'm gonna write that down.
Right. You're welcome. But I don't know. There's a lot of nuances right now. And there is a clear, I think there's a clear, I don't know how to say it, like a blindness on the part of some of these companies, that they really want to push what their market research tells them to push. And one of those two is just thickness. And I don't think we gave that its due earlier, because it really is something that, I don't know. I think we're at a good point, like 9mm, just in total for foldables specifically.
Foldables. Yeah,
I think is perfect.
It's the right sweet spot because you're not going to sacrifice battery necessarily. And I know we're at this silicon carbon revolution.
Yeah, but that's still not. That's not
cemented
to a lot of US manufacturers. Like Samsung is still doesn't, as far as I know, I don't think they still have plans to touch it in full until at least next year or the year after that.
Yeah, the 2026 rumors do not include silicon carbon so far, which makes Samsung has always been sorry, maybe not always. For the last decade or so, Samsung has been very picky about what batteries they use and how hard they push them. And they are kind of letting up on that, right? Like the rumors on the S26 series, faster charging, or at the very least for the like larger phones in that series, faster charging, which we have not seen on a new Samsung device in ages. So that's, cool. Oh, the other thing I was going to say about foldables actually really quickly is just same thing with thermals, right? Like settling at 9mm means that you're not going to feel, if you tried to push it to 8, that like extra millimeter not being there is going to just make the phone feel that much hotter when you touch it, because it's going to be that much less space between you and the components.
Yeah, it depends on how you do it. And to be fair, I don't think, honestly, I feel like I haven't had any issues with heat with the V5. In all, I actually really enjoy using the phone. I know I only really had complaints up until now. But it's funny because it does feel more advanced than a lot of the phones that we have now from other major manufacturers. I say that like there's 20. Samsung and Google right now. I mean, genuinely.
Can't believe you would discount Motorola like that.
Motorola isn't dealing with book style foldables.
No, they're really, and really their only flagship in the US is the Razr anyway. So it is difficult to compare them to anything other than the Flip 7, I guess. That's like,
it's funny. I've seen more Razrs in person than I have 9 Pro Folds, or probably even Z Folds, just across generations.
Really like that style. I'm really surprised.
It's a good phone. I mean,
it's a good phone. I'm really surprised that like Samsung Google isn't chasing this form factor more. I'm really surprised all of the rumors about a foldable iPhone, which I will believe when I see it, I believe is my official stance, is that it's book style, when like I think like the more Apple like choice would be to try to do a flip phone. Like it seems like that's the style that resonates the most with Apple's user base, which, I don't know. Like
Apple's user base is still the one that reliably buys iPads over. I guess the iPad,
all the more reason
general,
to stick with with a foldable flip phone rather than a book style.
Eating into your own market, maybe.
There we go.
But maybe it's the middle point to say, hey, this is like, you thought you were getting like a phone MacBook before, but now with whatever chip is in it, I don't know, probably A21 at that point. It kind of takes up the profile of an iPad mini, but like with the folded profile of just a regular iPhone. Maybe there's no, I don't think I've seen any CADs or anything.
No.
Because it's just so far out. We just got to the point where it was like, oh yeah, no, they're doing it. even that is your stance is a maybe. I think they'll get to it.
To me, it screams, I don't know. I guess maybe current day Apple will do it no problem. But like I even like 5 years ago, I feel like Apple would have looked at like things like the crease in the display and been like, that's not us. That's not our
style. Yeah. No, but maybe they've only just figured out how to get rid of the crease altogether.
That would be nuts.
That is their style. Their style is to take something that, other companies have been throwing money at for years and then come out with a version that, on the surface looks perfect visually. Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, I definitely think in a lot of ways, these Chinese OEMs are beating, Samsung and Google, I guess the major two in the US. Just in general, just because the thickness is one thing, and I'll give Samsung credit because they got there. I think it really comes down to me. I'm a little salty that the 10 Pro Fold isn't making isn't shaving off any size.
Me too. Yeah.
Because I get it's because, mostly because of Qi 2. And that's great because I use it on a daily basis. I'm all for that. I don't know. I wish there was an effort to make it smaller. Just to the point where it doesn't feel like it almost feels like I'm choosing a brick over, my other options.
Well, and we talk about weight, the Pixel 9 Pro Fold and then the 10 Pro Fold after it, like that is, those are heavy phones. Those are hefty phones compared to pretty much anything else on the market. Like I a couple years ago, Google was, bouncing around with Samsung up in the 250 range. And now it's like, there aren't really no other modern phones anymore, at least released in 2025, that are like hefty 250 gram bricks, except for Google's foldables. And it's like, that is where the benefit of going thin comes in. But you have to redesign the phone for that. And they basically didn't this year.
Yeah. I'd love to know more reason as to why they didn't do that, or why they did what they did, why they didn't do what they didn't do.
It's frustrating, right?
Because to it, yeah.
We talk about how fast foldables have come into play and how fast they've evolved. And it's like, oh, this race to be ultra thin really only started in earnest 2 or 3 years ago. And it already feels done. And it's like,
don't you love how we kind of unraveled our argument though? Like we came in saying, it doesn't matter. And then we're like, but I wish the Pixel 10 Pro Fold was better.
Was lighter. It's really a lighter thing for me, is that those phones just feel so hefty. And like it's a far cry from the original Pixel Fold, which was like, in my opinion, heavy to the point of like your wrist would start to get just like kind of fatigued. Not in a like, oh my God, it's hurting my wrist kind of way, but in a like, you would stand there with the phone in your hand for like, 10 or 15 minutes and you would feel it in a way that you don't feel other smartphones. And that's annoying.
Because apart from, phones in the cell phones in the late 90s, they've always been plastic up until, let's say,
the iPhone
10
really
years ago.
I mean, well, if you want to take the iPhone 20 years ago, but like, I'm trying to think, and then really
thick aluminum.
When metals. I think of aluminum, I think of the 1M7, and that's 2013. I think of the HTC 1M7. So let's say 10.
And that was thin aluminum. That wasn't the thick frames or anything. And then you get into, okay, well, we need to add one more component to make it work for foldables. And what is that? That's the hinge. This thing that by nature needs a lot of metal to function and to work reliably without breaking.
Yeah.
And Samsung has been doing a great job as far as like hinge durability goes. I don't know if you saw some of the durability tests that are out there. These are more than just a couple pictures, by the way. And
I saw that Honor was telling people to like weightlift with the phone.
Oh, I know. I do have a picture I wanted to show you.
Yeah.
I forgot to edit it, and I just edited it right before we got on.
If you send it to me, I can put it in the podcast.
Yeah, I'm sending it right now. So what Honor did is they set up a classic London UK phone booth.
Oh my God.
So the second picture, the one that's a little wider out, you can look at it. There is a V5 situated on the very top in the center. Mm-hmm. And there's a V5 situated on both sides, the right and the left. So the top one, the strap is pulling directly down on the phone from the top portion. So the face of the inside of the internal display is facing towards you, and the strap is pulling down from that. Now, the other two on the other sides, there's a strap going along the face, over the face, and pulling on both sides, holding up the phone, the booth. And
this is ridiculous.
You
can see it flex too.
I had some questions. There was a lot of oohing and awing, but you've done events with me. I'm pretty skeptical. Just as a general rule, because there's a lot of claims that are made that just don't hold up to a lot of scrutiny. And there's a lot of like footnotes. If everything was just a written press release, it would have disclaimers, legal disclaimers. The point being, so what's kind of hard to see in these photos, is there's a supporting bar under the phone, under the foldable, and that strap is going. So the foldable sandwich not sitting on top. The strap is going across it and then through that supporting bar, because it's a 2-piece supporting bar.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of weight actually on the hinge, as far as I can tell. The weight's really on the frame on either side, because those are the points of contact.
Right.
It is gonna squeeze the phone in and push up on that frame a little bit. But this doesn't look like a hinge test to me more than it looks like a frame test. If it were a hinge test, a hinge durability test, what they would do is they would clamp on single point clamps onto each side of the frame and then pull down.
Right.
But because that ratchet strap is going across the face of the phone, to me, it doesn't feel like, it doesn't send the message to me that it's incredibly strong. Albeit, it's impressive that it's doing this to begin with.
And to your point, it obviously it accomplished its goal by getting oohs and ahs, right? Like, but no, if you look closely, you're right. It kind of falls apart.
It's more frame than anything. A lot of this doesn't look like hinge pressure. So it was a funny aspect of that event that I noticed. And then, like I said, I'm not putting it to the test myself, and maybe that's my own downfall, right? I'm not going the full, doing my reviews, doing all my, checks and balances, I guess, going the full mile, but I don't want to throw it out. I don't want to destroy it, because I like using it sometimes, like I like it. It's so incredibly thin when you open it. And I think this is the sweet spot. Genuinely, I don't think I want a foldable that's thinner, because you have to remember that 8.8 or 9 millimeters is when it's folded. When it's unfolded, what is that? 4.5, 4.3 something for the 8.8 or 4.4. That's easy math. I failed at. That's super thin just for a device in general, just to have in your hand. It feels almost too thin. And maybe in like I said, maybe in like 2 or 3 years, we'll be eating our words, because everything's thin and it just feels better.
Turns out the S26 Air or Edge in the iPhone Air sold 1 billion units each, and you and I were just embarrassed, egg on our face.
Hey, I guess we're old souls in that way, yelling at clouds. And no, I overall, just I guess to put a point on it, it is a well-designed phone. The other thing I had an issue with, I just keep coming up with issues. The camera bump, and no one, I don't know if anyone agrees with me on this one, but it was enough for me to like just be a little bit bitter about it. The camera bump is bigger than it has been it was in the last generation by a lot. In total, the phone, if you just measured from top of camera bump to the bottom of the phone, it's bigger than the 9 Pro Fold, thicker. Just the whole profile.
Right.
And I just think that's interesting. They wanted to go with a thinner phone, but then they also, just dumped a massive camera array in it.
Yeah, the camera bump thing I think is going to be a problem maybe moving forward. Not that it hasn't already. And you can see companies starting to like finally follow Google's lead on what if we made the camera bump like horizontal so that it doesn't rock on a table anymore, but which is not a problem so much on the Magic V5, but obviously it is on the Fold 7. This thing is like comically bad on a table.
They've been transitioning over to one side instead of like you said, Pixel has gone for the uniform across the back. And then Samsung was like, well, how far can we push it to the left?
Well, and except for the fact that like Apple now has this like weird semi-pixel-esque design that Samsung seems to be taking, but only for one of its phones next year, if you're judging by the leaks. It's like, and it's the thin phone, so that's the helpful one. But it's like we saw there was a leak today, not to be newsy because this is going to come out like a week after we record it. But there's a leak today that the S26 Ultra is taking the Fold 7's camera bump design like exactly how it is, and therefore it's like twice as large as the camera bump on the S25 Ultra, with absolutely no change. Like at the very least, like the telephoto lens is like as small as it was last generation.
Right.
So you're gonna have all of these like smartphone companies just kind of being like, you know what? Like we're already doing big camera bumps for our foldables. Let's just do them on every device. And like I'm just terrified for what the next like 3 or 4 years of smartphones rattling on desks and tables sounds like. It's just
that's
like
the other thing too is like
terrible.
We keep getting thinner, right? We're getting they want to go towards thinner phones. They have not figured out how to make the camera builds thinner.
No.
And that's the limiting factor, because no one wants to walk around with a phone that comes in at 7 millimeters, but it's got like an overhang that you could hang off of a desk. Like you could just.
Well, it looks terrible in your pocket. Like it just does. Like it looks also like even like the Pixel doesn't look very good in a pocket. Like
but that's the thing is the case evens it out, and that's fine if you use.
But then you're losing any benefit of a thicker or a thinner chassis.
Right. So what are you going to do for? I haven't looked at S26 edge cases, very closely. But
S26 or 25?
25 edge, my bad. I haven't looked at those cases closely, and so I don't know if they favor the thin profile over meeting up with that camera bump. But the case just in general is like, okay, well, to make it look decent, it kind of has to be flush with the camera bump. I guess some cases. And that takes away from the thickness of the edge in the first place. So if I have a phone that even with a case comes in at 9 millimeters, I don't know if that's better. I don't know if the sacrifice is there, at least with foldable phones, it feels more justified, and you're not losing anything. But then again, the bump on this thing is on the V5 is rather large. And it's kind of weird to walk around with it. It feels like they embrace the fact that it's the crown jewel. They literally in the press release and the vent refer to the design around the camera bump as what I think made to resemble jewel manufacturing or whatever. They want it to look like a big talking point, and it's a big talking point.
I think the last big foldable thing I want to touch on, and it's why I have struggled with foldable. So I'm curious to see your use cases, I guess. But I struggle to figure out what I want to use. I was complaining earlier about how everybody decided, roughly 1x1 displays. Like that's what we're doing now. I've struggled to like find a good use case for an 8-inch 1x1 display, right? Like it's good for web browsing, but like there's nothing left on the web to browse. Like everything is just, dead internet content.
Do you do a lot of multitasking? Like, be real. Do you do a lot of multitasking on your phone?
No, like that's really what I've come into is that I feel like smartphones in general are just so optimized. Not that they can't do it, but that most apps are optimized for a single screen experience that I struggle to even come up with good ideas as to like what is the multitasking I'm doing, right? Like every time I've done it, I've done split screen multitasking on a foldable. It feels forced in a way that like I don't really like. It feels like I'm trying to find a solution or a problem to solve.
I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Are you a big purchases on desktop kind of guy?
Oh, that's a good.
Like you have to pull out a laptop or a desktop to book a flight or
yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that has something to do with it because what I use multitasking for is like flight planning or travel planning.
Okay.
And even then, to me, I'm similar. I have to do big things, like flights or whatever I need to do on a desktop. That's just kind of how we grew up in the era we grew up in. Right. To do those small things on a phone, even a foldable, feels like too much. And I think a lot of it comes down to the aspect ratio that a lot of these apps take on when using that 1x1 screen. It actually doesn't really feel all that more efficient if you're using one app on the display. And then even multitasking, I feel like I'm losing a little bit. So it doesn't feel balanced to me. The new way of doing it, I guess that so Samsung and Google do in Android is the 90-10 split. That makes a little more sense to me. But then again, it's not much harder just to swipe on the navigation bar to go over unless you're like copying text or dragging and dropping pictures, which I don't think I've ever done. I've never gone to send a picture to somebody and dragged it over from another app. And I that might just finicky. Be me.
I don't know. Yeah. No, I'm with you. It feels like I'm gonna at any point if my finger lifts off the screen, I have to start this process over.
But doesn't it feel like that's like a thing that's advertised a lot? Like that's
it's
how brought up a lot as like a feature.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of how I feel about a lot of marquee features these days, where I go like, that's really cool for the like 0.1% of phone users who are going to run into this, but like. I think that's why, like, if you look at foldable ad campaigns, they tend to focus more on like you're doing graphic design on this screen or something, which is like a slightly more tangible, like,
sure. So we're going to take the S Pen away from you.
I was going to say it doesn't really work on the Fold 7, but like I don't really. It's presented as this multitasking machine, and I agree with you. The 90-10 split is better than previous. I'd also like. I've been a big proponent of Open Canvas on OnePlus, on the OnePlus Open. It's on other OnePlus devices now too, but the OnePlus Open is where it obviously shines. And like, that's the closest I've come to being like, okay, I have essentially, sure, I have this like 8-inch screen, but what I actually have is like an 8-inch window into a 16-inch display that has a bunch of windows open, and I'm just tapping on the ones that I want to use when I want to use them. That feels a little more native to the desktop experience. Whereas like I've always struggled with Samsung's like Grid, where I'm like, everything feels too small, and Google's like, Google's strategy is you're holding 2 smartphones, which is okay and like it can work, but you know, I have held 2 smartphones before to do a task. It's not a super fun experience.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. There's also the method that Apple uses with like the one I'm more familiar with is on iPad OS is the 3-dot minimize, or like it's like their version of Dex that Samsung has for tablets.
Yeah, on iPad OS, right?
I can't remember what it's exactly called.
Oh my god, it's dead now. They killed it anyway. It's dead.
So it's essentially, but Samsung picked it up, and like that's what they're running with Dex on their tablets, which is different from the one on mobile. But I guess we can use the same thing for everything now.
Stage Manager.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is.
But I
never had an iPad that supported Stage Manager. I only have the like cheap I had an older Air, and now I have a cheap 329 iPad, and they neither supported Stage Manager. I now have now with the iPad OS 26 beta, it's just got the new multitasking experience, and that's supported. Which feels good. It's like the only good thing I can really say about that beta, but like the windowing stuff in that feels like it should have been forever.
I've tried using it before. Mm-hmm. It just feels like, okay, so I am shrinking my experience for each app in like tremendously shrinking to use 2 apps at the same time. And I'm really only interacting with one. Like I don't know. Everyone's different, right? I happen to know for a fact that the next guest you have on this podcast feels very differently about that exact thing.
He does.
It's just different for every person. It's different, you know. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of room with the software for Foldable still. The hardware, that's a different story. It's gonna keep getting better, but I don't know if I'd rather take massive software changes at this point over thinner foldables.
I agree.
I don't know where it's hard to tell where it's going in the next few years, or what the new buzzword for foldables is going to be that these manufacturers latch on to for 4 years. Maybe it is thinner. It seems like it's going that way.
Well, let me ask you this, and then maybe we can start wrapping up. What was the last new phone you personally purchased? And then what would it make you remove our career from it, which might be difficult.
Sure.
But what would make you go buy a new phone these days?
That's a good question. So there's something I like to refer to, or something I like to reference. I don't even know if I'm referencing right, but it's are you familiar with 11/7 susceptible? It comes from Community. No. I don't know if you ever watched Community.
It's like my favorite show. I am not.
Do you remember? I might be misquoting it. Do you remember Subway? When he started selling for Honda, and when he got the Dean, like the Dean latched on to everything. You know, there's a scene where he's in his office and it's Honda memorabilia everywhere. And he almost breaks down. I'm pretty sure, I need to rewatch this episode, but I'm pretty sure he refers to him as 11/7 susceptible, or like a level 9 susceptible. But it's a person that
I do remember. I do remember this now. Yeah.
Very
Yes.
easily
Okay.
persuaded into purchasing things. And I feel like if I didn't do this job, I might be verging on that, just because things are like for specifically like Apple's ecosystem, or at least their event that they had today, just visually it's nice, right? And I think there's a lot of FOMO out there for people, and I think I would be a part of that if I only had to pick one device. Be like, well, I want to get the best device, the quote unquote best, right? What everyone agrees is it's the most expensive one. It's always the most expensive one. So it'd probably be in that camp, just because I don't know, that or Pixel. Genuinely, and that maybe that's just me being hopeful that I would be, smart enough to make that decision. But
instead of just being persuaded by the shiny new.
Yeah.
I mean, I look, I didn't really set foot into this world. That's like into the professional reporting world until 2021. So like, but have been interested in this stuff since genuinely middle school. Right. So like, I can tell you that like I have lots of experience being that susceptible. I need the hottest new thing now. And the answer is that you work up some credit card debt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how else are you going to get it reasonably,
Certainly in college, you got to go out and just
that's fair.
Throw that and just hope that student job comes through. That's my experience.
How many ramen packs equates to one iPhone? Well, I guess they're about $1, right? Or
so 800 ramen packs. Yeah.
That's how you quantify things as a college student is 800 ramen packs, and the former looks pretty enticing, because I mean, that's food. One would think. But that kind of plays into what I was gonna say is marketing is marketing. And these companies pay and have very good marketing strategies and project or marketing managers. They know how to get people, and that's why you see so many, I guess, quote unquote buzzwords or whatever. Just because it makes people feel. And then the Apple Watch testimonial video they had today for like people. It was like, SOS saved their lives. That's the other thing is like, I actually in that moment I did think, I was like, if I didn't already like pre-order a Pixel Watch 4, or like if my Galaxy Watch 8 or Ultra would work with my Pixel 10 at all right now. But if that's the thing, is because it's ecosystem driven, I think, for a lot of people. And it's like, oh, I want that feature. I want like all these SOS features and stuff, which, Pixel Watch has it. Galaxy Watch has it too. But if I'm using my Pixel theoretically with a Galaxy Watch, which is my preferred combination, just because I enjoy using the Galaxy Watch 8 a lot, actually. In that scenario, I am giving up a couple features because it's different ecosystem. Technically, it's all in the same ecosystem, but not really. And with, I think if I were looking at it from the outside in, then I'd want to be a part of the ecosystem where that's possible. So, which means I'd buy into probably Apple stuff.
It's an unbeatable ecosystem. I think anybody that pretends that Apple doesn't have the best ecosystem of products is fooling themselves. I'm not saying there aren't other good ecosystems, but like, let's be real. Like, that ecosystem lock-in exists.
There are a lot of people
that like no one else has mastered, because you would need a very popular laptop series and a very popular tablet series and et cetera, right? It doesn't exist from Google or Samsung.
You'd have to really merge speaking. Google, Samsung, Microsoft, and a few others probably. But
Those connection points are there, but it's not that, like, if you have ever like watched someone switch their AirPods from like seamlessly between an iPhone to an iPad to a MacBook to the Apple TV, like, it's like, oh yeah, that is kind of, I see why people buy into this. That's really
it
well
makes
done.
sense. It's just, it works together. It's easy, but I don't know. I think it was specifically with Google, I think it's getting there. I don't think it's it'll ever be
better. It's just frustrating that there's
to that extent.
No, it will, and the laptop thing is like a big problem in my opinion. Like, I think that's the really missing key with Google, and I'm aware, obviously, of Chrome OS, but it's not.
That's where
quite
foldables come in.
Jesus,
because foldables are just laptops without any of the ports or the processing power or the keyboard or they're like if you bought a monitor that was a little bit more cognizant.
They're the Apple foldables are the Apple Studio 5K or whatever their display is called, though. I forget what it's called.
Sure.
They're the really expensive display, and you pay $2,000 and it looks really nice.
All display.
That's maybe a little mean to foldables. They're better.
It's also incredibly reductive.
It's a little reductive. It's a little reductive. But where, after an hour and a half of podcasting or whatever this has been, Andrew,
I'm excited.
Where are we if not being reductive?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what actually makes it in. I guess to round all of it out, right?
Foldables are in a weird spot. I think that's where we are.
And that is completely evident by the kind of like roller coaster that this ended up being. But it's like we there's so many little problems still with foldables that I guess are the culmination of little parts of other devices and products. Because it's just the usability is there. We didn't even talk about price entry.
Well, I don't even know where to get into that.
No, because that's a whole nother thing. That's it. You have to commit a lot of money for foldables, just in general. This
is also why I don't think trifolds will ever catch on. It's why I haven't even broached that subject.
How did we not even get there?
I carefully navigated us around that.
Oh,
that
did you?
Canyon. Okay. I thought about it, and it's like
we don't have to.
Trifolds fix a lot of trifolds fix a lot of the problems that you and I are talking about, but they introduced two new problems, which is one, like it's even more durable or even less durable on paper. It just doubles the amount of pieces that can fail. Like just on its face, you can't. There's no way to engineer around that. It's got 2 hinges instead of 1.
And then got 2 hinges. It's got I'm actually not
and
clear.
They're going to be $3,000. Who's buying this?
Huawei's has the external display that folds.
Yeah, the entire display is outward. The outer screen. Yeah.
Okay, but Samsung's trifold it's
the leaks have it folding like that. It's got a standard external display, and then
like on a normal Z Fold 7,
it's like if you added a second piece to a Z Fold 7
without another display. So it still technically only has 2 displays, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, and that one's interesting to me. But
you're never gonna for $3,000, which is my guess. My guess is if a standard phablet, oh my God, Jesus Christ, phablet or slab phone, which is what I was trying to say. Is $1,000 and a foldable is $2,000, then I can see the trend. I can guess where we're going. It's probably to $3,000. I just can't imagine anybody like a real person spending.
Tell me
that much
this
money.
Then. Yeah. Have you used any foldables to any like extensive? Oh, you have the 7, right? The Fold 7.
I have the 7, which I've barely used. But I have reviewed both of the Pixel folds that have been released so far. I reviewed the Fold 5 and 6. So yeah, I've reviewed. Okay. I've reviewed at least 4 book style foldables. Okay.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
But have you? So when you use it, let's say you're typing, right? How comfortable is that to type on an open foldable? Like use the keyboard?
Not very.
No, the answer, you're right.
Yeah,
you answered
this
that
is what I
correctly.
mean.
So,
It's a phone filled with or a form factor filled with compromises that does get you. It does have those moments of like, oh my God, like this actually is, my go-to example is that on the 9 Pro Fold, I like kept like a cheat sheet up while doing like a fantasy draft a year ago. And that was nice. Do you want to know what I did this year without a foldable though, Andrew? I used my laptop.
I was going to say fantasy drafts are a desktop thing. If you're doing flights on a desktop, you're doing fantasy drafts on a desktop. You probably have 3 monitors because you have it wasn't a few different guides up.
But like it was nice to have like this was the first time I had drafted on a laptop, and I was like, oh my God, this is so much nicer being able to see all of this information on one screen, and then also have like different tabs and windows open.
That's a lot of data that you're trying to force onto this little display, which is again. Foldable phones, I don't know.
It was better than when I've drafted on a slab, but it was much better on a laptop, which is kind of how I feel about foldables, where it's like, okay, this screen size is better, but like it doesn't feel like I'm carrying a laptop in my pocket, and it doesn't even really feel like I'm carrying a tablet in my pocket. It feels like I'm carrying a big phone in my pocket.
It feels like I'm carrying a slab phone that's bigger, a big phone.
Yeah.
And you turn the magnification all the way up or down. Either way, it kind of feels janky still if you're not used to it. Yeah. There's some use cases. That being said, we're saying all this. I consistently used the 9 Pro Fold for an entire year as my daily driver. I didn't stray away from that one time. Like other than reviews, right?
Yeah.
After the review, I was like, okay, what do I want to do next? Do you want to stick with this phone? Do I want to go back to what I was using? I always went back to the 9 Pro Fold. I don't know. I had the Fold 6 during that time.
That just wasn't a very good phone.
Yeah. But Ben, for instance, he switched over to, Ben Schoen switched over to the Fold 7 in entirety.
Yes.
Just over the Pixel 10, I'm pretty sure is still the case.
Yeah.
And more power to him. I can't see myself doing that. He has found
foldable use cases that I have not. And
that's true.
And yeah,
I do use my 9 Pro Fold up until I had the Pixel 10 Pro XL. I was using it just by default. And even though I've said up until this point, we've just listed only problems with foldables in general. I do actually still really like foldables. It's just, I guess we're airing grievances, right?
Yeah. Like it's a complex thing. There is no easy answer to are foldables good or not, because I don't know, like they are what they are, and they're kind of what you make out of them, which is where I come in and I say like, well, I'm struggling to make anything out of this. And there's never really an easy answer, because again, it just kind of depends on your use case. Yeah.
I mean, some people might be like me, and they use the external display for 80% of the things they do. And then, but I like
every now and then you've got
option.
That. Yeah.
I like having the option to open it up, like whatever. If let's say I was held against my will, forced to do a fantasy draft, and I only had my phone, then I'm going to open it. I mean, a foldable is what is it but a test, an always happening test, I guess, to see how often you'll use the internal display. I mean, when you close it, it's a normal phone, right? When you open it, it's not. So that's all there is to it.
Okay. Foldables, a complicated subject. We'll leave it there because Andrew, I think we're gonna have to have you back on to talk a lot more about foldables and whatever else you want to come back on and talk about, because we've done like an hour and a half and we have plenty more to talk about, I think. So
yeah, there's a few key things coming up, like the 10 Pro Fold isn't even out yet technically.
Yeah.
So There's more for sure.
Yeah. People can find you at 9 to 5 Google. Is there anywhere else you want to point listeners to follow you?
No, not really. I'll kind of echo the words of Joe in saying I do socials. I mean, I have Twitter /X or whatever. It's at Chaos Romero. And I'm on Threads too, but I generally don't. I want to be a little more active. I'm just not as active. But yeah, I've got a few reviews coming up that are interesting. So there's definitely some stuff in the pipeline on 9 to 5 Google, which should be fun.
Hell yeah. Yeah, well, that'll do it for us this week. Next week, and I can edit this part out if it doesn't happen, but next week we should have Michael Fisher on. I don't think that man needs an introduction. It'll be a fun talk. We're not going to talk about foldables. That's all I'll say, which is new for him. Usually I have him on podcasts to talk about foldables. This time I specifically asked him to not talk about foldables because, Andrew, we were going to have you. And this has been a great talk. And truly, I feel like you and I could go back and forth on foldables for like 2 more hours, but I don't want to keep you because it's 5:08 p.m.
I hope this was worth it.
I think this was worth it. Andrew, thank you for coming on. Thank you all for listening or watching. Share the show with a friend if you liked it. We've got the ball rolling. Episode 4. It's only going up. Look at this. I mean, we had 4 technical issues on my end this week, but hey, what good podcast doesn't, Until next week, that'll do it for us. Thank you all for listening, and I will catch you next time. Bye.